With names like Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders, and Ashton Genty dominating a majority of mock draft and pre-NFL draft hype, one of the players this entire NCAA season that has gone under the radar up until recently is Arizona State running back Cam Skattebo. The 5'11 senior is in his second year with the Sun Devils. He spent 2 seasons with FCS Sacramento State. His 2 first seasons with Sacramento State, he was named a third-team All-Big Sky as a freshman, then was named the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year. Then transferring to Arizona State, his success continued all the way up into a dominant and outright game-breaking performance against the Texas Longhorns. And throughout this season and throughout his career in college, Skattebo has proved that even when the competition against him ratchets up, he has been able to dominate and be a force every single time he either carries or catches the ball. He was named as a finalist for the Doak Walker and Maxwell Awards this year. Skattebo also finished 5th in the 2024 Heisman voting and proved that voting again was worthy with his performance against that Texas Longhorns defense. A guy throughout his career where his junior year in Arizona State, he showed incredible versatility, lining up multiple snaps at quarterback, a bulk of his snaps at running back, some snaps at tight end, some snaps at slot receiver. This is a guy that just loves to play football. Any way that he can get on the field, any way that Cam Skattebo can make an impact, he is willing to do it. And I say this with as much positivity behind it as possible. I think there might be something wrong with this guy. And again, this is in a good way. You see that he's a confident player, but his confidence never gets to the point of cocky, and it never gets in the way of him playing football. You see that he has a chip on his shoulder, but he doesn't let it deter him from the fact that he is still very talented. He still is, with his body size, with his pure strength, and his ability to just run through somebody, he is one of the most dominant players we've seen in the NCAA in a long time. And this isn't just running the ball out of the backfield. This is catching the ball as well. Skattebo has 45 catches for over 600 yards when you include the bowl game against Texas. The only thing that I think up until this point he hasn't proved he can be at least average to good in is pass protection. But if you're a running back going into the NFL, I would hope that the worst thing about you is your pass protection. And honestly, you can never say that anything poor about Cam Skattebo would be due to his effort, because he's going to try hard, probably harder than anyone else on any given snap. So the pass protection, I would almost guarantee, would improve at the next level with proper coaching and just reps. And after this season, one of the only other things that people will love to point at and say that it's a weakness for Cam Skattebo is his fumbling. And even though throughout his college career he's been credited with 10 fumbles, which in 4 seasons where you play every single game, 10 fumbles is really not that many, especially when you consider in 300 touches this year with Arizona State, Cam Skattebo turned the ball over to the other team 1 time. It's a pretty good ratio if you ask me. And even in terms of explosiveness, people want to say that he's not going to be able to showcase next level explosiveness at the NFL level. He's not even going to be really good in terms of his explosiveness at the next level. I really don't think that's going to matter, really, at the next level. Yes, you need to be fast. Yes, you need to be agile. Yes, you need to show explosiveness. But if you're built like Cam Skattebo, your explosiveness is just going to be running through somebody. And he even has an ability, if he's going against somebody that's not as agile as him, like a defensive lineman or like a bigger linebacker, he's shown an ability to be able to be elusive enough to get around those tackles. And even if he can't get around them, look at his career. I would doubt this year if he was tackled for loss more than 10 times throughout this season. Against Texas, their defensive linemen couldn't tackle him one-on-one. And he proved throughout this season, and especially against Texas, especially against Iowa State, especially against Mississippi State, In his key games this year where they needed somebody, Arizona State, after their wide receiver Jordan Tyson went down, their offense was quarterback Jordan Leavitt and running back Cam Skattebo. And at times, it was pass catcher Cam Skattebo. And in the Peach Bowl, it was quarterback Cam Skattebo with a passing touchdown. So I really don't think a lack of explosiveness is the right way to determine whether or not Cam Skattebo is going to be successful next year when he gets drafted and when he is playing in the preseason or when he's playing in the regular season or helping a team make the playoffs. I really don't think a lack of explosiveness is going to keep him from being a good player. The one thing that is working against Cam Skattebo that I really think could actually hurt him in the long run is his, he's taken a lot of punishment in his career. And the fact that he doesn't go down sometimes can hurt him. But it doesn't seem like, especially against Texas, it really negated him that much. I really do wonder if we saw Cam Skattebo go deeper in the college football playoffs this year, how he would have done, especially against an Ohio State team that dominated against the run against Oregon. And while, again, I don't think there's a lack of explosiveness that's going to hurt him in the NFL, I do wonder about the speed. I do wonder about his 40 time and what that's going to do to NFL teams and how they think about him. I'm really interested in how he performs at the Combine, really interested in how he performs at his pro day, because really at the end of the day, those are metrics that a lot of NFL GMs, a lot of NFL scouts, a lot of people in the NFL really like to go to the Combine and see how these guys measure up against each other. I wouldn't be so locked in on his 40 time, but it is going to be interesting how he finishes with that time. Going into the NFL draft, though, Cam Skattebo is such a breath of fresh air. I feel like so many running backs that we've gotten in the NFL lately have been the kind of running backs that are, they're the more elusive type of running back. They're not the kind of guy that's going to try to run through somebody. And Cam Skattebo is like the exact opposite of where the running back group is going nowadays. I mean, you look who in the NFL at the running back position is like Cam Skattebo nowadays. I wouldn't say that he's the same size as Derrick Henry. In fact, I would never dare say something like that. But that's like the closest guy in terms of how Cam Skattebo is built, how Cam Skattebo runs the ball. I don't see anybody else like Cam Skattebo in the NFL at the running back position. Nobody that's doing it well, at least. A lot of the guys that are having successful years are the more elusive type running backs. And that's okay. That's okay that Cam Skattebo doesn't fit into that mold, because I think he's going to be successful either way. So, who could Cam Skattebo help? For whatever reason, to me, I really feel like the Green Bay Packers would be an amazing fit for Skattebo. I think he would really benefit from a standpoint of having an elite running back in front of him in Josh Jacobs that's going to take a bulk of carries. And, I think Green Bay Packers fans would love Cam Skattebo. I think they would almost get flashbacks of a guy by the name of John Kuhn. They kind of look similar in terms of how they're built and how John Kuhn used to run the football. The difference, obviously, is that Skattebo is much faster than John Kuhn. And I think he would be an actual running back. He wouldn't be a fullback. And he could be somebody that can catch the ball out of the backfield. You look at who Green Bay has on the roster next year in terms of who they have under contract going forward. It's Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, and Chris Brooks. So they could really use somebody who, A, Cam Skattebo could help the running back room, and B, he'd be a very valuable asset in special teams. The Tennessee Titans are another team that only have 2 running backs on their roster next year. And between the 2 backs, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard had a really good year this year, surprising to me, over 1,000 yards rushing and about 1,300 yards from scrimmage in total. But Tyjae Spears really did not have a good year this year. He really underperformed. And I really could see Tennessee going the route of Cam Skattebo, a bigger, stronger running back that can get the tougher yards who could especially help in goal-to-go situations or short yardage situations. And again, in the passing game as well. A team that's probably going to be linked to every single running back in the draft this year are the Dallas Cowboys. While I would expect that they're probably going to spend a higher round pick, whether it's Ashton Genty, whether it's Omarion Hampton in the second round, or even one of either Quinshawn Judkins or Trevion Henderson, I think there's a very good chance that Dallas gets one or even two running backs in the draft this year. I think Cam Skattebo would be a good option just because he would help the room. They obviously would need to add somebody else in free agency to the room, because I do think a con to the Cowboys drafting Skattebo is it's really Rico Dowdle and him. And I don't think Skattebo going into his rookie year should be considered like the backup running back. I think he should just be a depth piece. Now, on the opposite side, teams that I really would not like to see take Skattebo, there's really only two that stick out to me. As much as I love the Houston Texans, I would not love this move. The Houston Texans had a running back like Cam Skattebo a few years ago that performed really well, and Dameon Pierce. He was almost exactly what Cam Skattebo did in college. A guy that would never go down, a guy that would run hard, and a guy that, well, he didn't really catch the ball out of the backfield that much. And we saw his career after his rookie season really go downhill. And now it's Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce. And I guess a little bit of Dario Gumbawale. But I wouldn't like Skattebo in that room. I don't think he would be relied on in the right way. And I don't think he'd get really used that much either in that pass-centric offense. And as much as I would love to see the San Francisco 49ers add more depth at running back, I don't think it should be a guy who we saw get a heavy workload in college, just because of the fact that we saw Christian McCaffrey go down. We saw Jordan Mason go down. Isaac Urendo. Elijah. Every single running back that San Francisco brought in got hurt at one point for multiple games. And in some other cases, had very serious injuries. And I don't think that San Francisco can really target somebody that had a very high workload in college. I would rather see them go after one of the Ohio State running backs, like Quinshawn Judkins or Trevion Henderson, two guys who split their workload throughout the year with each other and benefited from it and performed pretty well. Ultimately, I think Cam Skattebo is going to be a very good NFL player. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 running back right away. And I don't think even in his career we're going to look at Cam Skattebo and be like, that is the guy to lead an NFL team, to be one of the best runners in the NFL. But he could really help an NFL team. Like I said, in special teams, this guy brings immense value. From the standpoint of he's going to be one of the hardest working guys in a locker room, that's very valuable. When you look at the fact that he will do whatever it takes to make a roster, it's just a match between Cam Skattebo and an NFL team, regardless of who it is.